Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy immersive stories, compelling characters, and chapters that stay with you long after they end, you're in the right place. Be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss a new release, and share the channel with fellow readers who appreciate powerful storytelling. Let's begin. Chapter 7. Things Unsaid. The night air felt cool against Jasmine's skin as she and Renee stepped out of the car and walked toward the entrance of the lounge they had been hearing about all week on the radio. The place was called Visions, tucked beneath a row of street-level boutiques and bars, marked only by a soft red glow spilling down a narrow stairwell like a quiet invitation. The deeper they went, the more the city noise faded behind them. The club opened into a wide cellar space bathed in warm amber light. Low music moved through the room in smooth waves and wrapped around the crowd instead of fighting to be heard. It felt like a place meant for grown people, the kind who knew how to flirt without shouting and enjoy a night without needing everyone to look at them. Tall glass holders on each table cradled flickering candles that stretched shadows across the room. The lighting softened faces and turned sharp edges into curves. A slow pulse of bass thrummed beneath everything, more heartbeat than assault. The entire space moved with a gentle, unhurried rhythm. This was not the kind of club Jasmine had gone to in her early 20s. No strobe lights, no suffocating speakers, no bodies crushed together. This place breathed differently, slower, more intentional. They did what most women instinctively did in a new space. They went straight to the restroom. Inside, a wall of mirrors reflected women in different stages of transformation. Some lined their lips, some fixed stray curls, some simply stared at their own faces, as if trying to remember who they were before the day wore them down. Jasmine leaned closer to the mirror. Her eyes looked clearer tonight, even though the week still clung to them at the edges. She added a touch of gloss and smoothed the front of her skirt. She wanted to look like confidence felt, to step back into her life instead of shrinking from what had shattered. Renee stood beside her, adjusting her earrings, watching Jasmine in the mirror just a little longer than usual. "You ready?" Renee asked. "As ready as I am going to be," Jasmine replied. They stepped back into the lounge. The music was a blend of classic rhythm and blues and soft neo-soul, songs that made people sway instead of bounce. Renee's gaze swept the room like a quick scan for possibilities, jaw set, shoulder squared. Jasmine smiled. No matter where they went, Renee found a way to turn a room into a stage. A hostess led them to a table near the dance floor. It was perfect, close enough to catch the energy, far enough to breathe. A warm, expressive, and engaging tone. A waitress came over with a warm smile. Renee ordered a glass of cognac. Jasmine chose a deep red wine. "Jasmine, the guys were checking you out when we walked in," Renee said, eyes flicking toward a nearby table. "No, they were looking at both of us," Jasmine replied. "You know you have it going on." "True," Renee said with a small shrug. "I do." They laughed, the sound loosening some of the tightness in Jasmine's chest. Visions filled slowly. People drifted in until the room hummed with conversation and the soft clink of glasses. The warm scent of liquor, cologne, and faint vanilla from the candles settled in the air. A slow song shifted into something mid-tempo and smooth. "That is my song," Renee said, already pushing her chair back. "I need to find somebody to dance with." Her eyes passed over Jasmine once, quick, measuring, then she turned toward the floor just as a tall man with an easy smile approached. "Either of you care to dance?" he asked. "I do," Renee said instantly. She took his hand and slipped into the crowd, hips catching the rhythm before they even reached the center. Jasmine stayed seated and sipped her wine. The stem of the glass was cool beneath her fingers. She watched the room the way some people watched films. Couples warming toward each other, friends leaning close over shared secrets, new pairs testing chemistry with cautious smiles. Tonight, she felt no urgency to join them. Being here, breathing here, was enough. A few men approached. Some were polite. Some tried too hard. She turned each one down with a gentle smile and a shake of her head. She did not want to invite complications. She came to ease a weight, not add new ones. Then a man slid into the seat beside her without asking, as if he had already decided he belonged there. He was dressed well, but everything about him looked practiced. The smile, the posture, even the smirk he leaned in with. "Hey, baby, does God know one of his angels snuck out tonight?" Jasmine set her glass down and turned toward him with the steady look of a woman who had heard enough lines for one lifetime. "You are kidding me, right?" she said. "No, I am serious," he insisted. "Let me give you some advice," she said. He perked up. "All right. Take that line, fold it, and never use it again. That might be the worst one I have ever heard." He shifted in his seat. "I was just trying to break the ice." "I understand," she said, softening her tone, "but that one is not it." He cleared his throat and tried again. "My name is Bruce," he said, extending his hand. "How are you this evening, beautiful?" "I am fine, thank you," she replied, letting his hand hang in the air. "And you are?" he asked. "Jasmine. It is nice to meet you, Miss Jasmine. I do not see a ring, so I am assuming you are available." "You are observant," she said. "Can I buy you a drink?" he asked. Her instinct was to decline, but one drink would not cost her anything. She watched his eyes, his shoulders, the way he sat too close. "Sure," she said. He ordered her another glass of wine and a drink for himself. When the drinks arrived, she could feel him gaining confidence. He complimented her, her hair, her dress, her smile. At first, it felt harmless. Then it felt like a tactic. His gaze slipped lower than her eyes, lingered there, and kept wandering back. "You are not here alone, are you?" he asked. "No," she said. "My friend is on the dance floor." "You do not have to sound that cold," he muttered. "I am not trying to be," she said calmly. "I just want to enjoy my night without pressure." He kept going, questions she did not want, his arm inching toward the back of her chair, the faint lean of his body trying to close the space she left open. "Maybe I can get your number," he said. "See where it goes." "Let me get yours," she replied. He recited it. She tapped the phone without saving anything. "Got it," she said. Then she lifted her hand to the waitress. "I would like to buy him a drink." Bruce lit up. "I will take a shot of Hennessy." When the drink arrived, Jasmine looked him directly in the eye. "I bought that so we would be even," she said. "I need you to leave now. My friend will be back." "I can pull up another chair," he offered. "No," she said, voice still polite but final. "It was nice meeting you." He stood abruptly. "Bitch," he muttered as he walked away. Jasmine took a slow sip of wine and shook her head. The insult slid off her. If that was his best, she had not missed anything. Renee returned a few minutes later, cheeks flushed, hair slightly out of place, perfume sharpened by sweat and movement. "Tommy, this is my best friend Jasmine," she said as her dance partner followed. Jasmine stood and shook his hand. His gaze lingered on her face a moment too long, then dropped, then crept back up. Renee saw it instantly. Her mouth tightened, eyes cutting to his hand, then to Jasmine, then back to him. "Thank you for the dance," Renee said, a little too firmly. He mumbled something and walked away. Renee watched him go, jaw set until he disappeared into the crowd. "What an idiot," Renee said, sinking into her seat. "What makes you say that?" Jasmine asked, though she already knew. "He was staring at you like you were dessert," Renee said. "I was 2 seconds from walking off." There was more under her tone than simple annoyance, a thin line of something sharper. Jasmine heard it flicker through the words and let it pass. She did not have the energy to untangle it. Jasmine laughed lightly. "He is not my type." "Apparently nobody is your type tonight," Renee teased, eyes still scanning the room as if checking who had noticed Jasmine. "What happened to the first one?" "He tried too hard," Jasmine said. "I could hear the desperation in his cologne." Renee snorted. "So, what is your type these days?" Jasmine thought for a moment, fingers circling the rim of her glass. "A man who can take me away from reality sometimes," she said. "Someone who appreciates the small things, who can talk and really listen. Gentle without being weak. Someone who can give me peace, not just attention." Renee let out a soft breath through her nose. "That man lives inside a romance novel." "It can happen," Jasmine said. Maybe not here, maybe not soon, but somewhere. Sex is always on a man's mind, Renee said. Give them 10 minutes and they circle back. Renee, you are not helping. I am being honest. Men are simple. Talking is a detour. Touch is the destination. You are ridiculous. I know, Renee said, smiling. Dating is a game. If you are not ready to play, do something safer. Grow plants, knit blankets. Maybe I will go back to school. Degrees rarely lie to you. They laughed, the kind of laugh that carried truth and sadness at the same time. The night moved on. Renee drifted back to the dance floor again and again. Each time she glanced over her shoulder, checking whether anyone had slipped into the chair beside Jasmine. There was a question in her eyes she did not voice. Jasmine stayed and watched. The room looked like a soft ecosystem. People pairing and unpairing. Hands brushing, then pulling back. Eyes meeting, then dodging. Hope and disappointment trading places to the rhythm of the music. When the lights brightened a shade and the music softened, Jasmine felt calm for the first time all week. Her shoulders sat a little lower. Her jaw was no longer clenched. They headed to the car. The night had turned cooler. Renee yawned until her eyes watered. Drop me off, she said. I will get my car tomorrow. All right, Jasmine said. She waited until Renee went inside, then pulled away from the curb. It was after 2 in the morning, but Jasmine did not want to go home. The idea of her quiet apartment, the shape of the empty sofa, felt heavier than the hour. A familiar craving surfaced. Her favorite 24-hour cafe was only a few minutes away. Warm blueberry muffins, a cappuccino made exactly the way she liked it. The simple comfort of a booth and a steaming cup. Her intuition nudged her. Go! She turned the radio up and rolled her windows down. The city felt looser at this hour, less watchful. Storefronts glowed softly. Traffic thinned to a low hum. The sky looked darker, but a few stars managed to push through the haze. A classic love song began to play. That is my song, she said aloud, smiling as she turned it up. She sang along, letting the notes smooth the rough edges inside her. For a few blocks, she forgot Louis, forgot Natalie, forgot the ache pressing at the back of her ribs. Tonight, something different moved through her. Not joy, not yet, but something close. Something like possibility. Something like air reaching places that had been holding their breath. She followed that feeling to the soft glow of the cafe sign and pulled in. She had no idea her life was about to change. Chapter 8. The Encounter. The parking lot of the 24-hour cafe was quiet, except for the low hum of the neon sign buzzing above the entrance. Jasmine turned off her engine and sat for a moment, letting the cool night air settle the leftover rush from visions. Her body felt lighter than it had in weeks, but her thoughts were still shifting, still rearranging themselves after the emotional storm of the past few days. She stepped out of the car. Headlights swept gently across her windshield. Not abrupt, not intrusive, deliberate. A dark gray Audi Q8 turned into the lot. The sport package gave it a stance that felt both elegant and dangerous. The tinted windows turned the interior into something private and contained, but the way the car moved told its own story. It glided into the space as if it had done this 1,000 times and never once needed to prove it belonged. The engine shut off. A moment later, the driver emerged. He was tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the kind of controlled ease that came from awareness, not arrogance. His sweater fit him well. His slacks were tailored just enough to suggest discipline rather than vanity. The overhead lights caught the strong line of his jaw and left the rest of his face in soft shadow. He paused and took in the lot. Slow, careful, present. When his gaze found her, something in Jasmine's chest tightened. A spark, a pull, a recognition that did not feel like first sight. For a heartbeat, he went still, as if the ground beneath his feet had shifted half an inch. His gaze lifted briefly toward the sky, then he gave the smallest shake of his head, like a man who felt something he did not quite trust and chose to walk through it anyway. He started toward the cafe. Jasmine closed her car door and made herself breathe. She flipped the visor down and checked her reflection without fully knowing why. She smoothed her hair, pressed her lips together to refresh the color. "You came for a muffin," she murmured. "A cappuccino, that is all." Her body did not believe her. She went inside. The cafe smelled like warm sugar and espresso. Soft music played from a speaker near the counter. A few students hunched over laptops in the corner. An older couple shared a slice of cake at a window table. He was already seated. He sat alone in a corner booth, hands wrapped around a white mug. When she walked past, his gaze dropped to her heel, and a subtle smile touched the edge of his mouth. "Hello," he said. "Nice accessory on your shoe." She frowned and glanced down. A strip of white tissue clung to the heel of her boot. Heat rushed to her cheeks. "Oh no," she muttered, peeling it off. "Perfect. Exactly the look I was going for." His laugh was deep and warm, the kind of sound that came from the chest, not the throat. It wrapped itself around the moment and made it feel less like embarrassment and more like an inside joke they had somehow earned together. "Now we have both survived the moment," he said. "Are you here alone?" "Yes," she answered. "Tonight I am." He nodded toward the empty side of the booth. "Would you like to sit?" he asked. "This feels like a night meant for company, not distance." Her first instinct was to keep moving, get her drink, find a quiet table, go home. Something beneath that instinct stirred. It did not push. It pressed, soft and steady. "All right," she said. They ordered coffees and pastries. When the waitress walked away, he extended a hand across the table. "My name is Anthony." "Jasmine." His grip was warm, confident, gentle enough that she did not feel trapped, firm enough that she did not feel ignored. "What brings you out this late?" he asked. "It is a long story," she said with a small smile. "It usually is," he replied. There was no pressure in his voice, only interest. He told her he came to the cafe often before driving out to look at the stars. "Stargazing," she repeated, a little surprised. "It helps me breathe," he said. "Reminds me that I am small in a good way." She smiled. "That is different." Different is not always a bad thing. The waitress brought their drinks. The steam curled between them like a quiet offering. They talked about simple things at first. Work, music, the way the city changed after midnight, how it seemed to shrug off its daytime posture and relax into something raw and more honest. He listened the way so few men ever did. Attentive, steady, not searching for an opening, not watching the curve of her mouth more than the content of her words. When he asked questions, they landed lightly and left her room to answer or step away. Jasmine felt herself loosening by degrees. Then he asked, "Do you believe in soulmates?" The question startled her. Her fingers tightened around the warm mug. "Yes," she said slowly. "I just do not think I have met mine." His eyes held hers for a moment that felt longer than it could have been. There was no smirk in it, no performance, just a searching quiet. "Sometimes," he said, "I wonder if two people can feel something before they understand it." Her pulse fluttered. A memory brushed the edges of her mind. Heat, a voice, a whisper telling her not to wake up. The feeling of being known without ever being seen. For a second, the cafe blurred. She cleared her throat. "I will be right back. Restroom." In the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back. Not because she looked different, but because something behind her eyes had shifted. "This is just conversation," she told her reflection. "Just coffee with a stranger. That is all." The faint shimmer in her gaze said otherwise. She returned to the booth. His expression softened when she sat down, as if he had been quietly waiting for her to choose this seat again. "You are surprising," she said. "How so?" "I am not used to men showing their depth first," she said. "Most lead with the opposite." "Maybe I am not most men," he replied quietly. There was no arrogance in it, just a simple fact, offered without apology. She hesitated, then asked the question that had been tugging at her. "When you saw me in the parking lot," she said, "you looked at the sky and shook your head. Why?" He went still. Not for long, but enough for her to notice. "I felt something," he said finally. His voice had dropped a little, softer, closer. "Stronger than I expected. Something I was not prepared for. It caught me off guard." Her heart gave a small, trembling leap. He felt it too. He looked down at his hands, flexing them once, as if testing his own steadiness. He did not fall easily. Not anymore. Not after losing pieces of himself he had not gotten back. He chose his next words with care. "I have learned to be careful with strong feelings that arrive too fast," he said. "They have cost me more than I was ready to pay." He did not say what happened. He did not give names or scenes or explanations. The restraint itself told her enough. "Pain changes people," Jasmine said softly. "Yes," he replied. "It teaches them what to fear." "And what they still want," she whispered. Something unguarded flickered across his face. For a heartbeat, he looked less like a stranger and more like someone halfway through confessing something he did not dare say yet. He took a breath and let it out slow. "Would you like to go stargazing with me?" he asked. "There is a beach not far from here. Quiet, open sky. It helps to get away from the lights." Logic lined up all its reasons to say no. It was late. She did not know him. The world was not kind to women who trusted too easily, but this did not feel like easy. The same quiet certainty she had felt in the dream stirred inside her chest. Not a command, an invitation. "Yes," she heard herself say, "I will follow you." They paid the bill and stepped out into the night. The air felt cooler now, but the warmth between them carried its own temperature. He opened the door of his Audi and glanced back. "See you there." She nodded and returned to her car. Before pulling out, she checked that her phone was charged and her pepper spray was within reach. The pull did not cancel her caution. It moved alongside it. The drive to the beach took about 20 minutes. She followed the soft glow of his taillights along the dark road. The city lights faded behind them. The sky stretched wider with every mile, a dark canvas pricked with scattered stars. At the beach, the air smelled like salt and night. The moon spread a silver path across the water. Waves rolled in and out in slow, patient breaths. He walked over and opened her door. "Still all right?" he asked. "Yes," she said, "I am." He opened the back of his vehicle and pulled out a folded blanket and a small portable radio. "You came prepared," she said. "I always bring these when I come here," he replied. "You are the first person I have asked to join me." Something about that admission slipped under her skin and settled there. They walked along the sand until he found a smooth patch. He shook out the blanket with a practiced motion, laid it down, and brushed away small shells from the edges. Soft jazz drifted from the radio, low and gentle, blending with the hush of the tide. They sat side by side. For a while, they simply listened. To the water, to the music, to the spaces between their own breaths. "You do not seem like someone who goes to clubs for fun," he said eventually. "Lately, I go because my friend insists," she said. "It is her way of making sure I do not drown at home." "Renee," he said, "the one you mentioned." "Yes, she has been my closest friend for years." "She must care about you a lot." "She does," Jasmine said. "She was there when things fell apart with my ex. She was there when I had to admit I had given more than I received." He turned slightly, giving her his full attention. "Do you want to tell me what happened?" "Only if you want to." She surprised herself by answering. "Trust was broken," she said quietly, in a way that cut deeper than the relationship itself. "I thought he was safe. I was wrong. That is the simple version." He nodded slowly. Something in his eyes tightened. "I am sorry," he said. "That sounds too familiar." He shared small, careful pieces of his own story. A long relationship, plans made, futures mapped out in late-night conversations. The slow change, the distance, the realization that love could stand in the same room and still live in a completely different place. He did not describe the worst of it. He did not need to. The silence between his words filled in enough. He watched her as he spoke, and felt something rise in his chest that he had not welcomed in a long time. Not attraction alone, not desire. Recognition. Her beauty was obvious. Anyone with eyes could see the curve of her mouth, the softness of her skin, the way the moonlight gentled every line of her face. What drew him What unnerved him was the strength beneath the vulnerability. The way she held her hurt without letting it harden her completely. The way she still laughed, still showed up, still risked coming out on a night like this. She looked like someone who had every reason to shut down and chose to keep her heart alive anyway. That terrified him, because a woman like that could slip past defenses he had spent years rebuilding. He glanced at her profile against the silver water and felt a warning flare. This is exactly what you promised yourself you would avoid. He stayed anyway. They fell into a quiet that did not feel empty. The wind lifted strands of her hair and carried the faint scent of her perfume toward him. He breathed it in and exhaled slowly, keeping his expression calm. She turned her head and caught him watching her. "You are staring," she said. "Yes," he replied. Color warmed her cheeks. "No, you are not." "I was when you looked up," he said, "but I don't mind you catching me." A small smile tugged at her lips. "You were staring earlier, too." "I have been staring since you walked into the cafe," he admitted. "I am just trying to be respectful about it." The music shifted to a quiet storm station, low and slow. He rose and held out a hand. "May I have this dance?" he asked. On an empty stretch of beach, in the middle of the night, the question should have felt ridiculous. It did not. She placed her hand in his. He helped her up and drew her gently toward him. At first, she kept a small space between them. Then the song wrapped around them, and her body softened, moving closer on its own. His arms settled around her waist. Her hands rested lightly against his chest. She could feel the firm beat of his heart beneath her palms. He held her with care. Not possessive, not hesitant, present. The waves moved in slow rhythm. The sky spread wide above them. Her head found a place near his shoulder. His breath brushed her hair. The warmth of him seeped through the thin space between their bodies. For the first time in a long time, she did not feel like she had to brace herself. Her body responded with a quiet awareness, a warmth in her chest, a soft ache in her throat, a longing to stay right here, in this exact balance between closeness and safety. He felt it too. The easy part of him wanted to lean fully into it, to forget every warning his past had carved into him. The cautious part held the reins, but the way she relaxed in his arms, the way she trusted this moment, tugged at the part of him that still believed in something larger than fear. "It feels like we have done this before," he murmured. "It does," she whispered, "and it should scare me more than it does." They stayed like that through one song, then another, the dance softening into a slow sway, more about heartbeat than rhythm. When he finally pulled back a little, she lifted her eyes to his. The anticipation startled her. She realized she was waiting, wondering if he would try to kiss her. He leaned in. Her eyes closed on instinct. His lips brushed her forehead. The kiss was soft and lingering, reverent in a way that startled her more than anything else he could have done. "You are special," he said quietly. "I do not want to rush something that feels like this." Emotion rose fast in her chest. She swallowed and nodded. "Thank you," she managed. They folded the blanket and walked back toward the cars. The night felt lighter and heavier at once. He walked her to her own car and paused. A small brown paper bag sat on his front seat, folded from an earlier stop. He reached in, tore a neat square from the top, and took a pen from his pocket. He wrote quickly, then held the scrap toward her. "May I do it this way?" he asked. "Old-fashioned." She took the paper. "Anthony, 5249891. He turned it over and added one more line in red ink. "Just a little reminder of me. If you ever want to talk," he said, "you do not have to explain why you are calling." She looked at the small square of paper, then back at him. "Thank you for tonight," she replied. "I did not expect any of this when I left my house." "Neither did I," he said. "Drive safely, and Jasmine." "Yes?" "When you get home, look up," he said. "I will be doing the same." She smiled in spite of herself. "All right, I will." He stayed where he was until she pulled away. In her mirror, his figure grew smaller, then blurred into the darkness. At home, she set her keys on the counter and placed the paper scrap beside them. For a long moment, she stood in the quiet, replaying his laugh, his voice, the feel of his arms around her on the sand. She lifted the paper to her nose and inhaled. His cologne lingered there, warm and subtle, threaded through the fibers like a secret. She walked to the window and looked up. The same stars scattered above the city, patient and clear. Somewhere under that sky, he was standing with his face turned upward too. She could feel it as surely as she felt the floor beneath her feet. "Please let him be thinking about me too," she whispered. She climbed into bed with something warm in her chest that was not denial and not pretending she was fine. It was quieter than excitement, steadier than longing. It felt like the first gentle shift in a life that was finally beginning to turn. Chapter 9. The Office Gift. Jasmine surfaced from sleep slow and heavy, as if her body did not want to leave the warmth of the dream world wrapped around her. For a few seconds she lay still with her eyes closed, feeling the echo of strong hands at her waist and soft music carried on ocean air. The night on the beach rose in her mind before she even opened her eyes. Anthony. His name slid through her thoughts like a whisper. Her lips curved before she could stop them. She sat up and rubbed her face. Dim morning light slipped through the blinds. For a moment she wondered if she had imagined it. The cafe, the Audi, the blanket on the sand, the way his arms felt when they danced. She padded into the kitchen on bare feet. Her eyes went straight to the counter. There it was. The number lay where she had left it, a small, crumpled brown scrap torn from the bag he kept in his car. The ink was bold and simple. Anthony, 5249891. She picked it up carefully, as if it might crumble. She brought it to her nose and breathed in. His cologne met her instantly. Clean, warm, quietly masculine. She did not know the brand, but she knew the calm ache it stirred. She turned the paper over. One line waited there. Just a little reminder of me. Her chest tightened. She sat on the sofa and held the paper between her fingers, replaying the sound of his laugh, the way his voice softened when he said her name, the way he had drawn a line and chosen respect when it would have been easy to push. Her mind slid to how his body had responded when they held each other, the warmth, the tension, the restraint. Heat bloomed low in her belly. She shifted on the cushion, caught between memory and possibility, surprised by how much she wanted more and how much she respected that he had stopped. The phone rang. Her heart jumped. She grabbed the receiver, a soft smile already forming. "Hello?" A sleepy voice answered. "Hey, what is going on? I will be over later to get my car." Her smile fell. "Oh, it is only you. What is going on, Renee?" "Nice to talk to you too," Renee said. Jasmine sighed. "Sorry, my mind was somewhere else." "You must be expecting somebody," Renee said. "You sounded real sweet answering that phone. You waiting on a call from someone?" "As a matter of fact," Jasmine said, heat touching her cheeks even though no one could see her, "I am. I met someone last night." Silence stretched for a beat longer than it should have. Then Renee's voice sharpened with interest. "Say what? I do not remember seeing any man at the club who had you looking like that." "I did not meet him at the club. I met him at the cafe." "Oh, really? Then go ahead and tell it." Jasmine settled deeper into the sofa, the paper still in her hand, her voice softening as she told Renee everything. Dropping her off, the quiet lot, the gray Audi sliding in, the look that made her breath catch, the conversation, the stars, the beach, the blanket, the music, how she had felt nervous and safe at the same time. Renee listened without her usual ad-libs. "Wow," she said at last. "So when do you think you will see him again?" "We did not set anything up," Jasmine said, staring at the brown paper. "I guess I just have to wait. I do not know if he is the one, but there is something different about him." "Different how?" "When he looked at me," Jasmine said, eyes drifting upward, "it was like he reached through my eyes and touched something inside me. When we danced, I could feel his heart beating against my chest. I felt like I had known him for years. I was not worried or guarded. I was just calm." Renee let out a small sound that sat between a laugh and a scoff. Girl, you sound like the main character on the front of one of those romance novels. I hope I am not boring you. Nah, girl, keep talking, Renee said. You sound happy. I am just trying to picture you on a beach in the middle of the night, all in love with the moonlight. I had to tell somebody, or I was going to burst, Jasmine admitted. He was such a gentleman, Renee. He never tried to push me, and with the way I was feeling, he could have. I was trying to stay in control, but everything inside me was loud. So, after all that, nothing happened? Renee asked, light but with an edge. No, I could not. It was not that kind of night, and I do not want him to think that is all I am. I do not think he would have, Renee said. It sounded like grown folks' time. You always say you do not want a relationship. I know. So, what is wrong with getting your groove back? Purr. Jasmine groaned. Your mind needs prayer. They both laughed, but under Renee's laugh there was a thin tension. Jasmine heard it and almost asked about it, then let it go. She was not ready to pick apart anyone else's feelings. They talked a little longer until the phone beeped in Jasmine's ear. Hold on, Renee. Let me see who that is. It might be him. She clicked over, heart racing faster than she wanted to admit. Hello, she said, a little breathless. Instead of the voice she wanted, a voice she had prayed to forget filled the line. Hey, Jasmine, how you doing? Lewis said. Every muscle in her body went tight. The warmth left her face. Her fingers clenched around the receiver. What do you want, Lewis? Why are you calling me? He started in with the same tired script. He had been thinking about her. He wanted to talk. He wanted to see her. He wanted another chance. She listened just long enough to know nothing had changed, then cut in. Are you out of your mind? She said, anger rising with each word. How dare you call me asking me something like that? What makes you think I want to sit down and talk to you? Do not call this number again, ever. I have moved on with my life. I suggest you do the same. I want you back, Jasmine, he said quickly. I know what I did was wrong, and I am willing to do whatever it takes to make it up to you. Please. His voice cracked, but all she could see was that office door, that chair, that woman. You sound like the same sad story I have heard 1,000 times, she said. Same words, different day. A man cheats, then comes back talking about how sorry he is and how much he loves his good woman. You think I have not heard this before? Jazz, please, just listen to me for a second, he pleaded. Good, she said, because I am glad you called. There are some things I need to say, and right now is the perfect time to say them. She paused, remembering Renee on the other line. Hold on. She clicked back. Renee, you still there? Yes, I am here. Who is that? You will never guess. Anthony, Renee said. No, old news. Lewis and I think it is time I tell him exactly how I feel. I will call you when I am done. Okay, call me on my cell, Renee said quickly. Do not scare him too bad. The warning came with a spark of interest, the kind people get when they know a storm is coming and want a front row seat. Jasmine clicked back. Yes, I am still here, she said. Who was that? Your new man? He asked. Why would you ask me something that childish, she said. And if he was, what difference would it make? You gave up any right to ask about my life. I was just wondering if you were seeing someone, he said quietly. What does that have to do with this conversation? Nothing, I guess. Her voice dropped, steady and cold. Lewis, I trusted you with my heart, my mind, my body, my soul. You took all of that and treated it like it was nothing. I sat up night after night, wondering where I went wrong. Did I push you away? Did I not give you what you needed? Did I say something that drove you to her? Her eyes filled. Tears slid down, but she did not wipe them away. Every night when I try to sleep, I see the same thing, she said. I see that office. I see you with her. I hear her voice. I hear yours. I see your face when you realized I was standing in the doorway. I relive it like it just happened, and you think you can call me and ask if we can talk? Her voice shook but did not break. I thought I had everything, she said. I thought I had a man who loved me. What I had was a lie, a relationship built on promises you never meant to keep. I would have loved you forever. You made sure that will never happen. I am so sorry, he said, his voice thick with tears. I still love you. Can we please work this out? Just give me a chance. She heard him trying to steady his breathing. It did not soften her. It sharpened her. Another image rose against his words. Anthony on the sand. The way he had pulled her close and then stopped. The way he had put her comfort above his own desire. I was in love with you, she said, each word slow and heavy. I loved you with everything I had. I stood by you. I helped you. I did everything I knew how to do as your woman. You were there for me sometimes, and I appreciated that. But answer me this. Her tone tightened. When did you realize you missed me? Was it when you were sitting alone after you got caught? Was it when life with her did not look like you pictured it? Or was it in the quiet moments when you finally understood that you lost something you could not replace? Silence. Answer me, she said. You wanted to talk, remember? You had something to say. He struggled for words. I do not have an excuse, he finally whispered. I was wrong. I was selfish. I was stupid. I wish I could take it back. I see your face from that night when you opened the door. I cannot get it out of my head. I cannot sleep. I cannot eat. I drink too much. I lost my job. I lost you. I feel like I have nothing now. Jasmine, please, give me another chance. I will do whatever you want. I will go to counseling. I will go back to church. I will apologize to your mother. I will do anything if you just give me one more chance. For a brief second, she saw him as he once had been, laughing on her couch, kissing her forehead after a long day, whispering that she was his everything. The images hovered, then slid away. Anthony rose in their place. Anthony in the soft light by the cafe. Anthony spreading a blanket under the stars. Anthony choosing reverence instead of pressure when he could have had more. Her choice settled over her like calm water. Your best option, she said quietly, is to call Natalie and ask her to deal with you. Save your tears for someone who is still invested. I would like to say I feel sorry for you, but I do not. You created this. You knew what you were risking. He let out a small broken sound. Please do not say that. You do not mean it. You are just angry. I know you still love me. I meant every word. You lied. You cheated. You broke me open and walked away. I do not ever want to see your face or hear your voice again. Goodbye, Louis. This time it is permanent. You should have thought about all of this before you betrayed me. She pulled the phone from her ear and hung up. For a moment, she sat completely still. Then her body folded forward and her face dropped into her hands. The tears came in a rush. She did not fight them. They tore through her chest in raw sobs. Her shoulders shook. Her stomach clenched. The sound coming out of her did not even sound like her. Why me, Lord? She whispered. What did I do to deserve this kind of hurt? Her eyes burned. Her head throbbed. She grabbed tissue, wiped her face, blew her nose, tossed the crumpled paper toward the trash. She walked into the kitchen for water, hand trembling as she lifted the glass. Her gaze fell to the counter. Anthony's number lay there. That little brown square with his writing and his scent. A reminder that not everything in her life was broken. A reminder that something gentle and unexpected had stepped into the middle of all this wreckage. Her heart still hurt, raw and open, but beneath that sharp pain, something steadier waited, quiet and patient. She walked back to the bedroom, every step heavy. She lay down and stared at the ceiling. She had thought she was finished crying over Louis. Hearing his voice had proved she was not. She closed her eyes and tried to breathe through the ache. Anthony's face rose in her mind again. The way he had kissed her forehead instead of taking advantage. The careful way he held her when the music played. The quiet patience in his eyes. She exhaled slowly. God, she whispered, if there is something better for me, help me let this go. Her tears slowed, her breathing steadied. Exhaustion wrapped around her and pulled her under. As sleep approached, her final thought was not of Louis begging on the phone. It was of Anthony on that blanket beneath the stars, saying her name like it mattered. Chapter 10. Ink and Roses. Monday arrived without ceremony. Jasmine woke before her alarm, the pale morning light stretching quietly across her bedroom ceiling. For a moment, she stayed still, listening to the soft hum of the city beyond her window, waiting for the familiar heaviness to press down on her chest. It didn't. Instead, what rose first was the memory of sand beneath her palms and the steady rhythm of the ocean breathing nearby. Anthony's voice, low, calm, the way he had spoken without filling the silence just to be heard. The way his presence had felt like something she didn't need to brace herself against. She rolled onto her side and stared at the wall. The night before replayed in fragments. The drive home from the beach. The quiet stretch of road where her thoughts had finally slowed. The way she had sat in her car afterward, hands on the steering wheel, not wanting to rush back into the noise of her own life. Anthony hadn't pushed, hadn't followed, hadn't asked for anything she wasn't ready to give. That alone unsettled her more than intensity ever could. She sat up and swung her legs over the side of the bed. Her phone lay face down on the nightstand, untouched. No missed calls, no apologies disguised as explanations, no late-night messages asking her to soften what she had already made clear. Louis had finally heard her. The thought didn't bring satisfaction. It brought a strange kind of fatigue. As if the part of her that had been fighting to be understood had finally laid down its armor and realized the battle had never been winnable in the first place. She padded into the kitchen barefoot. The scrap of brown paper waited on the counter exactly where she had left it. Anthony, 5249891. Her fingers hovered over it before picking it up. She turned it slowly, as if the paper itself might reveal something new. It didn't. Just his handwriting. Neat, unassuming, confident without trying to impress. She leaned against the counter and let herself remember the conversation that had followed the beach. Louis's voice, tight with defensiveness. The way he kept circling the truth without ever standing inside it. How he had said, "I never meant to hurt you," as if intent mattered more than impact. She had listened. Let him talk. Let him unravel himself with half apologies and familiar excuses. At some point, she realized she was no longer angry. She was tired. "I don't need you to explain anymore," she had said quietly.
"I needed you to choose me when it mattered." The silence on the other end of the line had told her everything. Now, standing alone in her kitchen, Jasmine felt the echo of that conversation settle into something final. Not closure, exactly. More like acceptance, the kind that doesn't make noise when it arrives. Anthony had never asked her to choose him, and somehow that had made all the difference. She made coffee and let it brew while she leaned against the counter, eyes unfocused. The memory of his arm resting loosely around her waist returned. Not possessive, not tentative, just present. Like he wasn't trying to claim her, only meet her where she stood. Her chest tightened unexpectedly. She realized how long it had been since a man had made her feel safe without making her feel small. She dressed slowly, choosing clothes that felt like herself rather than armor.
As she locked the door behind her, the house phone rang inside the apartment. Once? Twice. She hesitated. For a brief, foolish second, she wondered if it might be Anthony calling from a number she didn't recognize. Then she exhaled and turned the key. If he wanted to reach her, he would. The drive to work passed in a haze of music and thought. A familiar slow song hummed through the speakers, the warmth of it settling into her bones. She caught herself smiling at nothing and quickly shook her head, as if embarrassed by her own optimism. It was too soon, she reminded herself. Too fragile. Too much had happened. Still, when she stepped into the hospital, she felt different. Lighter. As if she had finally stopped dragging the weight of an unfinished story behind her. By midday, her head buzzed with new information and introductions. She stepped outside for lunch with Renee, keeping the conversation deliberately shallow. Work, schedules, neutral things. When Renee inevitably circled back to questions about the beach, Jasmine deflected without effort. Some things felt too personal to be dissected yet. When she returned to her desk, she stopped short. The roses were impossible to miss, bright yellow, fresh, alive. They sat there unapologetically, their color cutting through the sterile tones of the office like sunlight breaking through a clouded sky. A small envelope rested among the stems. Her name. Her breath caught. She didn't rush. She didn't tear it open. She stood there for a moment, letting the sight of them sink in. No one had ever sent her flowers at work before. Not Louis. Not anyone. She opened the envelope. Congratulations on your first day. I hope this brings a smile. That was it. No pressure, no expectation, no performance. Just thoughtfulness. Her throat tightened unexpectedly. She pressed her lips together, steadying herself. This was what intention looked like. Quiet, considerate, given freely. She picked up her phone before she could talk herself out of it and dialed the number. Voicemail. Hi, Anthony, it's Jasmine, she said, her voice softer than she intended. I got the flowers. They're beautiful. Thank you for thinking of me. She ended the call and sat back, eyes lingering on the roses. Down the hall, someone called her name. Work resumed. Life moved forward. But as she followed her supervisor, Jasmine felt something settle into place. Not love, not certainty, possibility. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this chapter, make sure to like and subscribe so you're notified as new chapters are released. Share the channel with others who love powerful storytelling. I truly appreciate your support.